interestingly, we haven't seen the indictments yet. There's been some time lag. I suppose it will take some time to go through all the forensic, evidence.
2 is 49.
Diddy is 49 years old.
Oh, man!
That is a 27-year...
You know how Steve Harvey always jokes about his marriages being a mess? Well, turns out he might have been underselling it, because the woman standing next to him at every red carpet, the one he calls his saving grace, the one who's been his rock for over a decade, allegedly, she wasn't just rubbing elbows with Diddy at those infamous parties. She was running them, and not just at the parties. We're talking about a woman whose ex-husbands weren't just any men. They were convicted criminal kingpins, the kind who moved enough product to make the cartels nervous, the kind who got life sentences before one of them got a presidential pardon. So let's ask the question no one's had the guts to voice out loud. If Marjorie Harvey was allegedly knee-deep in that world, what exactly was she doing at Diddy's side all these years? And more importantly, what did Steve know? Because if the rumors are even half true, America's favorite dad might have been sitting on the biggest scandal of his career. And trust us, this isn't just gossip. This is the kind of story that makes you question everything you thought you knew.
Tone
50's be
fifth. Y'all don't even... Fifth
play
is
around if you
different.
want to.
Fifth is different.
And he's on tour. He ain't even in a...
Now, before you roll your eyes and say, oh, here we go with the rumors, let's get one thing straight. This isn't just gossip. This is 50 Cent, who, love him or hate him, has a knack for dropping bombshells that stick, alleging that Marjorie wasn't just a socialite sipping sparkling beverage in the VIP section. She was allegedly part of the machinery, the operations. And the timing? Oh, it's everything, because 50 didn't just pull this out of thin air. He dropped it right as Diddy's trial was wrapping up, right as Steve and Marjorie were battling those very public cheating rumors, right as Netflix was gearing up to release that explosive documentary. Coincidence? Please. This is a man who plays chess while everyone else is still setting up the board. And if you think for 1 second that 50 Cent, who's been feuding with Diddy for years, who's made it his personal mission to expose every skeleton in Puff's closet, would throw out an accusation like this without some kind of receipt, then you haven't been paying attention. But here's where it gets even messier, because Marjorie's past isn't just some distant history. It's a blueprint. Her first husband, Jim Townsend, a substance lord so connected, the FBI allegedly had enough on her to indict her too, until he cut a deal to keep her name out of it. Her second husband, Donald Woods, another kingpin, another cousin in the game, another man who allegedly knew how to move product without leaving a trace. And then there's Marjorie, the woman who walked away from both of them, who somehow ended up married to Steve Harvey, America's dad, the guy who writes books about how women should act like ladies. The irony is so thick you could cut it with one of Diddy's infamous white party invitations. So, let's connect the dots, shall we? Because if Marjorie was allegedly running point at parties where, according to lawsuits, women were sedated, coerced, and worse, parties where Diddy's inner circle allegedly made sure no one talked, then what was she really bringing to the table? And why on earth would Steve Harvey, a man who's built his entire brand on family values and moral high ground, hitch his wagon to a woman with that kind of resume?
And so she called me, and she just went off on me.
And then there's Lori. Oh, Lori Harvey. Steve's stepdaughter, the rising model. The it girl who's been linked to everyone from Future to Michael B. Jordan. The same Lori who back in 2019 was allegedly spotted getting cozy with Diddy in Italy, in Mexico, in matching outfits that screamed, "We're more than friends." The same Lori who, according to insiders, was there for Diddy during one of the darkest times of his life, right after Kim Porter's tragic passing. Now, if you're Steve Harvey and your wife is allegedly tied to Diddy's world in ways we're just now uncovering, how do you not have a problem with your stepdaughter being photographed with the man at the center of it all? Unless, of course, you already knew. Unless the Harveys and the Combses were never just friends. Unless this was all part of a much bigger picture, one where loyalty, silence, and maybe even leverage were the real currencies being traded. Let's not forget, Steve's been down this road before. His second ex-wife, Mary Shackelford, didn't just walk away from their marriage. She sued him for $60 million, accusing him of everything from torture to soul harm. And while a judge eventually threw that case out, the pattern is clear. Steve Harvey's marriages don't end quietly. They explode. So when Marjorie took to Instagram last month to shut down those cheating rumors, when she posted that little religious blog about how to handle being lied about, was that really about some made-up affair with a bodyguard? Or was it a preemptive strike? A way to control the narrative before someone, maybe someone like 50 Cent, decided to control it for her?
So you're not allowed, they don't want you to say nothing about what's really going on.
No, they wouldn't be quiet.
And speaking of control, let's talk about the money. Because Marjorie didn't just deny those cheating rumors. She allegedly demanded a $200 million divorce settlement. $200 million. And if we're being real, Steve Harvey's net worth isn't that deep. So what is Marjorie really after? What does she have that's worth 9 figures? Because if the past is any indication, it's not just about the clothes, the trips, or the lifestyle. It's about what she knows. And if that knowledge includes details about Diddy's parties, about the substances, about the women who've come forward, about the system that allegedly kept everything quiet, well, then we're not just talking about a messy divorce. We're talking about a negotiation, one where the stakes aren't just money but reputations, careers, maybe even freedom. Now, let's zoom out for a second. Because while we're all focused on Marjorie and Steve, on the cheating rumors and the substance ties and the oh my god, did she really moments, there's a bigger game being played. Diddy's trial might be over, but the fallout is just beginning. The Netflix documentary is out, the lawsuits are piling up, and 50 Cent? He's not done, not by a long shot. So when he drops a hint that Marjorie was more than just a guest at those parties, when he implies she was part of the operations, we've got to ask, is this just about taking down Diddy? Or is this about exposing an entire network, one that includes some of the most powerful names in entertainment? Names like, say, Steve Harvey.
Her mother is 54 years old. Her mother is 5 years older.
And that brings us back to Lori. Because if Marjorie was allegedly running point at Diddy's parties, if she was the bridge between the criminal world and the hip-hop elite, then what was Lori's role? Was she just another young woman caught up in the glamour? Or was she there for a reason? Remember, this is the same Lori who was allegedly linked to Diddy's son, Justin, before she was spotted with Diddy himself. This is the same Lori who, according to insiders, was there for Diddy during his darkest hours. So, was that just coincidence? Or was it strategy? Because if the Harveys and the Combses were really as close as everyone says, then Lori's presence in Diddy's life starts to look less like a fling and more like, well, let's just say it's interesting how these families keep intersecting. But here's the thing that's really going to blow your mind. Steve Harvey didn't just marry Marjorie, he adopted Lori. He made her his daughter. So when we're talking about Lori's alleged involvement with Diddy, we're not just talking about some random celebrity romance. We're talking about Steve Harvey's daughter, the same man who's built his career on preaching about morality, about respect, about how men and women should behave. The same man who, just a few years ago, was sued by his second ex-wife for soul harm. So tell us, how does a man like that look his stepdaughter in the eye when she's linked to a man like Diddy? Unless, of course, he already knew the game. Unless the Harveys and the Combses were playing by the same rules all along. And that's when the silence starts to mean something. Because Steve Harvey hasn't said a word about any of this. No denial, no outrage. Just that little we're fine comment at InvestFest. Like this is all just noise. But we know better. We've seen how this works. When the accusations get too close, when the truth starts to leak, the powerful don't get mad, they get quiet. And Steve Harvey? He's been very quiet.
So they in that generation. And I asked them what is it, and they say, Dad, you clickbait.
Wow.
He said, you clickbait. He said, you one of the most viral people in your age group out there. He said, Dad, every clip on Family Feud got you on it.
Yeah.
You clickbait. If they can take your face and put it on anything, you become clickbait. He said, and that's what it is, you know.
But here's what no one's talking about. While everyone's focused on Marjorie's past, on the parties, on the alleged substance ties, there's one question that hasn't been asked nearly enough. What was Steve getting out of this marriage? Because let's be real, Steve Harvey didn't need Marjorie for money. He didn't need her for fame. So why her? Why a woman with a past like that, with connections like that, with baggage like that? Unless, of course, those connections were the point. Unless Marjorie Harvey wasn't just a wife. She was an asset, one with access, one with secrets, one who could open doors that Steve, for all his fame, couldn't open on his own. And if that's the case, then the real question isn't about Marjorie's past. It's about Steve's future. Because Diddy might be in prison, but the game isn't over. The lawsuits are still coming. The documentary is still trending. And 50 Cent? He's still got more to say. So if Marjorie was part of Diddy's world in the way 50's implying, if she was running those parties, if she was the link between the illicit trade and the hip-hop elite, then Steve Harvey isn't just married to a woman with a scandalous past. He's married to a liability, one that could bring down everything he's built. But here's the kicker. While we're all sitting here connecting the dots, while the internet's losing its mind over the cheating rumors and the substance ties and the what did Steve know questions, there's one person who's been awfully quiet through all of this. Lori. She hasn't posted about it. She hasn't denied it. She's just gone silent. And in a world where everyone's got an opinion, where every celebrity and their publicist is rushing to get ahead of the story, silence isn't just golden, it's suspicious. Now let's talk about that $200 million question, because that's not just a divorce settlement demand, that's a hostage note. Marjorie Harvey didn't just pull that number out of thin air when the cheating rumors started swirling. That kind of figure doesn't come from hurt feelings. It comes from leverage. And if we're being honest, Steve Harvey's net worth isn't that deep. So what is she really after? What does she have that's worth 9 figures? Because if we've learned anything from Steve's past, it's that his marriages don't end with a whimper. They end with a bang. Remember Mary Shackelford? The second ex-wife who sued him for $60 million, accusing him of everything short of ritual sacrifice? She didn't just want money, she wanted justice. Or at least, that's what she claimed. The court threw it out, but the pattern is clear. Steve's exes don't walk away quietly. They explode. So when Marjorie starts throwing around numbers that would make a Fortune 500 CEO blush, we've got to ask, what's she got on him? Or more importantly, what's she protecting him from?
I'd say that Steve Harvey was in a perfect position to help me get clemency. I wouldn't have to go through what I went through, but God's hand.
Let's talk about Marjorie's clothing line, Lady Love Couture. On the surface, it's just another celebrity vanity project. Glamorous, expensive, utterly forgettable. But what if it wasn't just a side hustle? What if it was a shield? Because here's the thing about Diddy's empire. Bad Boy Records wasn't just a label. It was a fortress. A way to launder reputations, to move money, to keep the right people quiet. So when Marjorie launches a luxury brand, right as Steve's career is hitting its peak, right as the rumors about her past start to fade, we've got to wonder, was Lady Love's Couture just another bad boy, but for the Harvey brand? A way to take the edge off the questions, to give her a legitimate identity beyond the whispers? Because let's be real, when you've got 2 convicted kingpins in your past, a little reputation laundering goes a long way. And if Steve knew, that's a big if, but come on, how could he not? Then his silence starts to make a whole lot more sense. This isn't just about love, it's about control. And control is the one thing Marjorie's exes lost when they went to prison. But here's where it gets even messier. Because Diddy's trial wasn't just about Diddy. It was about an entire network. The RICO charges didn't just name him, they painted a picture of a machine. A machine with employees, with associates, with people who knew how to keep secrets. And if Marjorie was allegedly running point at those parties, if she was the one making sure everything ran smoothly, then her name should have been on that indictment right alongside his. But it wasn't. So what gives? Did she flip? Did she cut a deal? Or is she still playing the long game, waiting for the right moment to cash in? Because let's not forget, Diddy's parties weren't just parties, they were board meetings. And Marjorie, she wasn't just a guest, she was allegedly part of the operations. So when we see her standing next to Steve, smiling for the cameras, we've got to ask, was she ever really his wife?
But I would feel like I failed as a father.
I think
if I'm sitting across from the table with a dude the same age as me that's dating my daughter.
Or was she his insurance policy? And then there's Lori. Oh, Lori. The stepdaughter, the model, the woman who was allegedly spotted getting cozy with Diddy not once, not twice, but multiple times. In Italy, in Mexico, in matching outfits that screamed, "We're more than friends." Now, if you're Steve Harvey and your wife is allegedly tied to Diddy's world in ways we're just now uncovering, how do you not have a problem with your stepdaughter being photographed with the man at the center of it all? Unless, of course, you already knew. Unless the Harveys and the Combses were never just friends. Unless this was all part of a much bigger picture. One where loyalty, silence, and maybe even leverage were the real currencies being traded. Because let's be real, Steve didn't just adopt Lori. He claimed her. He made her part of his brand. So when she's linked to Diddy, that's not just a scandal. That's a strategy. And if we're connecting the dots, it starts to look like Lori's alleged fling with Diddy wasn't just a romance. It was a handoff. So where does that leave us? With 2 possible endings to this story, and neither of them are pretty. Scenario 1, Marjorie flips. She starts talking, and suddenly, Steve Harvey isn't just America's favorite dad. He's the man who married a woman with ties to one of the biggest scandals in hip-hop history. His empire doesn't just take a hit, it crumbles. Family Feud becomes a punchline. His books become kindling. And that $200 million demand, it starts to look like chump change compared to what he stands to lose. Scenario 2, they ride it out. They bet that America's attention span is shorter than a TikTok trend. They smile for the cameras, they post their little religious blogs about handling lies, and they wait for the storm to pass. But here's the thing about storms. They don't just disappear, they transform. And if the Netflix documentary proved anything, it's that 50 Cent didn't just expose Diddy. He handed the Harveys a grenade. The question is, who's holding it when it goes off?
If I didn't say anything, you would interpret it as hip-hop is fine with his behaviors. There's no one else being vocal. So you would look at it and just say, because that mind your business, or let me not say nothing about nothing, or those things, it would allow the entire culture to register as if they're for that.
Because let's not forget, 50 isn't done. The lawsuits are still coming. The documentary is still trending. And if Marjorie was part of Diddy's world in the way the rumors suggest, if she was running those parties, if she was the link between the illicit trade and the hip-hop elite, then Steve Harvey isn't just married to a woman with a scandalous past. He's married to a time bomb. And the clock? Oh, it's ticking. So, Steve, if you're listening, and we know you are, maybe it's time to break that silence, because the questions aren't going away, and neither are we. But hey, what do you think? Was Marjorie just a socialite caught in the wrong place at the wrong time? Or was she playing a game we're only now starting to understand? Drop your theories in the comments, because this story is far from over. And as always, stay curious, stay skeptical, and we'll see you in the next one.